Good morning to all class 9 students. In our last video in the Kingdom of Fool, part 1, we have learned till the goldsmith comes into picture in these allegations made by the king and his minister. Now, finally the case was about to be solved according to the king, right? Not according to the readers, but according to the king. I think we were on page number 23, somewhere in the third paragraph. This is what I remember. That the goldsmith named the merchant, and he was none other than the original owner of the house whose wall had fallen. Now justice had come full circle. Justice had come full circle. That means, this is an idiom, see, to come full circle. That means after a series of events or incidents, something is finally coming to an end. That is when we use this idiom. Justice had come to the full circle, right? Okay, so after a series of allegations from one to the other person, this case seems to be solving according to the king. Thought the king, back to the merchant. When he was rudely summoned back to the court, he arrived crying. It wasn't me, but my father who ordered the jewelry. He is dead, and that is why I am innocent. Since the main culprit is in heavens, I should not be accused. Right, this is what the opinion of the merchant, because the house which killed, the wall that killed the thief while he was pursuing his ancient trade, that house belonged to the merchant's father, and the father was no more. So who has to be accused now according to the king? See, it is there in this paragraph. But the king consulted his minister and ruled decisively. Decisively, that means as to make a decision now. It's true your father is, please underline this, it's true your father is the true murderer. He's dead, but somebody must be punished in his place. You have inherited everything from that criminal father of yours, his riches as well as his sins. This sort of thinking shows that the king was not fool. He was thinking smartly, but he could not act smartly. You see, I knew at once, even when I first set eyes on you, that you were at the root of this horrible crime. You must die. Okay, so that this is the final decision coming from the court of this foolish king. As he ordered a new stake to be made ready for the execution, as the servants sharpened the stake and got it ready for the final impaling of the criminal, it occurred to the minister that the rich merchant was somehow too thin to be properly executed on the stake. He appealed to the king's common sense. The king too worried about it. Okay, so you see, the minister seemed to be more foolish than the king. He says and he thinks that the stake is too big for this merchant to be killed. Since the merchant is all skin and bones, he cannot be executed properly. So who we need is somebody who can fit into this newly built holy sacred stake. Right? What shall we do? He said, when suddenly it struck him that all they needed to do was to find a man fat enough to fit the stake. The servants were immediately sent all over the town looking for a man who would fit the stake. And their eyes fell on the disciple who had fattened himself for months on bananas, rice, wheat, and ghee. And he fattened himself because everything was available just at one dudu. Fair enough. What have I done wrong? See, he's ordered by the king's bailiffs. They will have to go and fetch him, which they have done. Now he's scared. It is time for him to pay for his greed, his excessive greed, his extreme greed for food. I am innocent. I am a sannyasi, he cried. That may be true, but it's the royal decree. This is the royal code. This is the royal code of conduct. It's the rule. that we should find a man fat enough to fit the stake, they said, and carried him to the place of execution. He remembered his wise guru's words. This is a city of fools. You don't know what they do next. While he was waiting for death, he prayed to his guru in his heart, asking him to hear his cry wherever he was. The guru saw everything in a vision. He had magical powers, celestial power. He was a celestial being. He could see far, and he could see the future as he could see the present and the past also of this disciple. He arrived at once. The guru could see the disciples' greed for food, how he treated himself with the food he could see in his vision. And he also could see that now he is put into trouble by himself, but he is in need of his beloved guru. So, not forgetting his duty towards his students, towards his pupil, what did he do? He arrived at once to save his disciple in the kingdom of fools, again, who had got himself into such a scrape through love of food. Scrape here is referred as trouble. As soon as he arrived, he scolded the disciple and told him something in a whisper. Then he went to the king and addressed him, O wisest of kings, who is greater, the guru or the disciple? Of course, the guru, no doubt about it. Why do you ask? These lines are spoken by the king. Then put me to the stake first. Put my disciple to death after me. Right? See, now when you want to deal with foolish people, you have to act smartly. You can't be foolish. You can't afford to be foolish with them, because you never know how they are going to deal with you next and what they will do, how they will behave with you. So you have to be smarter than the foolish people to deal with them. This is what the guru exactly has done. His sole purpose to come back to this kingdom of fools was to save his disciple somehow, by hook or by crook. So he talked about his trick, that he's going to be a trickster now, going to trick the foolish king and his minister. And instead of both of them, these two have to go to the stake. But how this is going to be possible? That trick, he went to the disciple and whispered in his ears. So the disciple also understood what he was supposed to do. See, you can see this scene in the picture. The foolish king and his minister alongside the guru and his fattened disciple. Right. Okay, we are here again on page number 25. When the disciple heard this, he understood and began to clamor. Clamor is to cry out loudly. Me first, you brought me here first. Put me to death first and not him. Both of them were sort of juggling, with each other, almost arguing, fighting and creating a commotion as to who should go to the stake first. They wanted to create that sort of impression before the king and the minister, that there is something about that magical stake which they are missing out. Right? So let's see what happens next. The guru and the disciple now got into a fight about who should go first. The king was puzzled by this behavior. He asked the guru, "Why do you want to die?" "We chose him because we needed a fat man for the stake," spoken by the king. "You shouldn't ask me such questions. Put me to death first," replied the guru. "Why? There is some mystery here. As a wise man, you must make me understand." Again, this dialogue spoken by the king. Now the king is little suspicious, growing his curiosity that there is something fishy here. Why this guru is in such a hurry, followed by the disciple, that they should go to the stake one after the other? So he is asking a question. There is something wrong here. Could you please make me understand? Why are you two so curious, so eager to go to the stake and to be executed? So the guru, the wise guru, reveals the mystery behind this newly built stake. Will you promise to put me to death if I tell you? Asked the Guru. The king gave him his solemn words, right? Solemn, that means his divine words, sacred one. The Guru took him aside out of the servant's earshot and whispered to him, do you know why we wanted to die right now, the two of us? We have been all over the world, but we have never found a city like this or a king like you. That stake is the stake of the God of justice. It is newly built. It has never had a criminal on it. Whoever dies on it first will be reborn as the king of this country. And whoever goes next will be the future minister of this country. We are sick of our ascetic life. Ascetic, that means very sober and very simple life, without any amenities, without any comforts. It would be nice to enjoy ourselves as king and minister for a while. That means the Guru will go first, so he'll be king, and the disciple follows him next, so he will be reborn as the minister. Now, keep your word, my lord, and put us to death. Me first, remember. The king was now thrown into the deep thought. You see, the Guru gave him a job. Now he has to decide. The ball is in the court of the king, and he has to decide. This is the moment of decision for him. He has to decide who goes to the stake first. And he had already made a promise, so he can't even turn out his promise. He did not want to lose the kingdom to someone else in the next round of life. He needed time to think, so he ordered the execution postponed it to the next day and talked in a secret with his minister. See, the minister also thought it is a lucrative offer and should not miss out. It is not right for us to give over the kingdom to others in the next life. Let's go to the stake ourselves and we will be reborn as king and minister again. Holy men do not tell lies, he said, and the minister also agreed. Right, so both of them have come to one bargain that they both will have to go to the stake. Now, how it is going to be possible? They could not come to the public because they could not reveal this secret to their subject. But it was the decision of the two that they will have to go to the stake because they did not want to miss out on this opportunity to be reincarnated as the king and the minister again as the next minister in his next life. So he told the executioner, see how they are going to act. Now, do you think they are foolish? No, they are smart. So he told the executioner, please underline, we shall send the criminals tonight. When the first man comes to you, put him to death first, then do the same to the second man. Those are my orders. Don't make any mistake, right? So all the officers and the executioners, they are all ordered and they were supposed to follow the king's orders. That night, the king and his minister went secretly to the prison where the disciple and the Guru were imprisoned. They released the Guru and the disciple, disguised themselves as the two. That means they became the prisoners and the original prisoners were released. And as arranged beforehand with loyal servants, were taken to the stake and promptly executed. Right. So what we have learnt on page number 25, that finally before the dawn, both the foolish king and his minister were executed, and the other two who were actually supposed to be executed were released. Let's see on the next page. You can see it in the picture. The two were made free and the other two are behind the bars as prisoners. When the bodies were taken down to be thrown to crows and the vultures, the people panicked. They saw before them the dead bodies of the king and the minister. The city was in confusion. Yes, there was a disorder in the city. Why? Because they did not expect, they were expecting the guru and the disciple to go to the stake and to be executed. But something vice versa had happened. All night they mourned and discussed the future of the kingdom. Some people suddenly thought of the guru and the disciple and caught up with them as they were preparing to leave the town unnoticed. You see, by the time the king and the minister were already dead, the other two did not choose to come to the subject in public, but they decided to flee the place in secret, perhaps disguised as something else. But before they do so, they were caught up by people. We people need a king and a minister, said someone. Others also agreed. They begged the guru and the disciple to be their king and their minister. Perhaps the people also came to know about how things have taken place, and whatever had happened for a reason, and it was for the good. Now that the king and the minister are dead, who is going to rule the kingdom? Who will give the orders? So, seeing the need of the rulers, the subject requested the guru and the disciple to be their king and the minister. Right. It did not take many arguments to persuade the disciple. Well, the disciple was already in love of food, so it was very easy for him to be convinced. But it took longer to persuade the guru, because the guru was a learned man, experienced, and he did not want to take the place of this foolish king. So it was very difficult. He was leading an ascetic life and he wanted to go back to his jungle. However, perhaps he would accept the request from the people of this kingdom. They finally agreed to rule the kingdom of the foolish king and the silly minister, on the condition that they could change all the old laws. That means they had to follow the nature's orders, not the orders or something that was decided by the fools. Let's see, from then onwards, the night would again be night and the day would again be day. And you could get nothing for a dutu. Perhaps this is not so pleasing news for the disciple. It became like any other normal place and everything came back to the order. Right? So finally the subject, see, two things have happened. The disciple could save his life because of the guru, and because of the guru, the subject also got a good, generous king. Right? So always listen to the gurus. They always work in your favor and they guide you. Right? Then it is up to you. You want to go in the same direction or you want to decide something for yourselves. One more thing that you have learned, or that you have to act smartly when you're dealing with the foolish person, somebody who's idiot, silly enough. Right? So act smartly, act wisely. This is an excerpt taken from the Kannada folktale of A.K. Ramanujan's. Right? Okay. Let's go to the question answers quickly. What are the two strange things the guru and his disciple find in the kingdom of fools? The first strange things, day was treated as night and the night was treated as day. Secondly, everything was available just at the cost of 1 dutu. That is, 1 dutu is equal to 1 paisa. Second one, why does the disciple decide to stay in the kingdom of fools? Is it a good idea? Well, he was greedy for food, and because of his extreme love for food, he decided to stay back just to eat. I think this is not a very good idea. If you want to stay, or if you are deciding to have a long stay in some place, you should look into, there are so many other factors that one should go for, not only the food. Right? So it was not a very good idea. Perhaps after learning this chapter, you came to know that food is not the only factor that one should look into. Right? Number 3, name all the people who are tried in the court and give the reasons for their trial. Here, simply you have to follow the link which you have drawn when we were taking the chapter. Please keep that link always drawn in your textbook, or you can also draw the same link in your CW. So instead of reading the chapter Before your exam, you just have to go through the link. Fine? Okay. Who is the real culprit according to the king? Well, according to the foolish king, the real culprit is the merchant. But merchant says, my father is the culprit. But the king gives the reason. He justifies that you are the real criminal. You have to be going to the stake because you have not only inherited your father's riches, money and property, you have also earned his bad karmas. So you have to be executed. Right. Why does he escape punishment? Well, he escapes punishment because he was all skin and bones. So he was not a very good person to be fitting into the stake. Number 5. What are the Guru's words of wisdom? When does the disciple remember them? Very important question. The Guru's words were, you should never have faith. You should never listen to the fools. Right? See, go to page number 19, the last paragraph. What did he say? I asked you to underline this answer. The Guru realized that this was a kingdom of fools and it won't be a good idea for them to stay here. This is no place for us. Another thing that you can read is the first line on page number 20. They are all fools. This won't last very long. And you can't tell what they will do to you next. You can't trust them. Therefore, this wasn't a good idea. But the disciple realized it only when he was supposed to be executed at the newly built stake, unjustifiably, unreasonably, in someone else's place, wrongly. So he realized that it was a wrong decision of mine to stay back in this kingdom of fools. Right, number 6. How does the Guru manage to save his disciple's life? Right, this is going to be a long answer for you to write. You have to write the trick which was played by the Guru, right from he whispered something in the disciple's ears till what he made both the king and the minister to do. Right? Everything you have to write in your own words. Please do not copy. Alright? We keep this video till here, and in the next video we will start Truly Beautiful Mind. As much research you can do at your end about Albert Einstein, you will enjoy this chapter. Right? So please do so. Thank you very much.